I would like to talk to you about your interview technique today. First of all, let's talk about why you are invited to a face-to-face interview in the first place. When you go to an interview, they have already assessed your ability to do the job. They know you have the right skills, you have the right experience, so you don't really go to the interview to prove to them that you can do the job. They know you can. The reason why they want to see you face-to-face is the fact that they want to be able to verify whether you have had enough exposure to similar environments, whether the quality of your performance is what they're looking for, and therefore what we do here at Byte is we utilize a S.T.A.R model technique to enable the interviewer to verify how you performed your responsibilities and how you used your skills in your previous positions. S.T.A.R stands for a specific situation. So when I worked for this particular company, I worked on a specific project, right? And you described that in detail. The task, the project was running behind schedule for this particular reason, and the actions that you took to put the project back on track, and the result is nothing else but the benefit to the company, how they benefited from your actions, and the commercial value of hiring you realistically over somebody else. What the S.T.A.R model technique enables you to do is simply show them that the way you perform your responsibilities is exactly what they're looking for, but also it shows your potential employer that the problems that you encountered in your previous roles is exactly what they're encountering here, and you're simply a good fit, right? You will be able to help them more effectively. So that's one reason. It simply it enables you to sell yourself better, because when you go to an interview, people simply assume that you are selected because of your skills, and you're going to get the job if your skills are better than anybody else's. Well, the reality is that when you go to the interview, the people you're interviewed against have pretty much comparable skills to yours. They are only interviewed for that reason. My experience with the job seekers that we work with tells me that when they get an offer, when they are offered a job, their fit for the role will be anywhere between 70 to 90%. For technical professionals, that will be around 70 to 80, so developers, testers, sometimes support professionals. For anyone with a slightly softer skill set, so project managers and business analysts, that's something around 80 to 90%. In most cases, there is a certain number of those little boxes on the list that they don't tick, and they still get the job, for the simple fact that they are able to explain effectively that what they did with that 80 or 90% that they do have is good enough for that 10% to not be a problem. Another reason why the S.T.A.R model technique is quite handy is the fact that a lot of interviews will utilize competency-based questions as a part of the interview process. The S.T.A.R model technique, if you actually think about those examples in advance, that's all they are. This is literally a response to this competency-based question, right? So tell me about a time when you made a mistake, how you recovered from it, and what you learned from that situation. So when I worked for this particular company, this was the task, which in this case is going to be your mistake, was the actions that I took, right, to recover from this, and the result. So what I learned from that was, and as a result, so you get an opportunity to think about how what you learned enabled the company to actually benefit, or the project to have a positive result. So that's how it's helpful. Now, if you get a competency-based question at an interview without thinking about those situations in advance, the danger is that you're going to improvise. Now, there's a tiny problem with improvising. The overlap of communication patterns of improvising and lying is actually up to 50%. Now, because our minds don't really have a lot of ability to create content as we go and talk at the same time, you're going to have to make a pause. And what is that pause? And you're probably aware of, you have done it before, I have done it before. It's something like, well, the next thing I want to tell you about is, right? That is probably not what you want to sound like when you go to a face-to-face interview. So when you think about your S.T.A.R model examples in advance, you not only have an answer to competency-based questions, but you have also thought about the result of your own actions and the commercial benefit of hiring you over somebody else, right? Now, at Byte, we work with a tremendous number of professionals who are new arrivals in the UK, a lot of people from continental Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand will probably not have that problem, but anyone who is not a speaker of English as a first language, so anyone whose English isn't really perfect, right, might struggle with improvising to a great extent for one particular reason. When you improvise and you have not experienced the English speaking culture to the extent that you're simply comfortable with it and you actually think in English, when you go to an interview and they ask you a question that you haven't thought about before, realistically, what you're going to do is think in your own language and then try to translate it to English. And it's not going to be, well, it's going to be a very messy answer. In that case, when you're interviewed against someone whose English is, well, maybe slightly better, you might miss out on an opportunity. Well, truth is, the company might miss out as well, but at the end of the day, they want someone who will be able to communicate with the team very well, and you have just not displayed that ability. What we aim to do here at Byte is to make sure that each of the professionals that we work with has a resource of the minimum of 10 to 20 STAR model examples before they go to an interview, because that will simply enable them to understand the value that they bring to the table better, but also attend an interview under no pressure.